Hi, welcome to our maiden voyage, our first episode of the Abundant InvestHer podcast. I'm your host, Beth.
And I'm your host, Christine, and we are so excited to dive into this podcast, which feels like a lifetime in the making because we've been having the most juicy, abundant conversations about everything that we're so excited to be sharing with you. We're going to kick it off with episode 1, focusing on how to create your rich life. Can't wait.
Yes, there's so much to it. So what is a rich life? Gosh, it's everything. It's all the great stuff, right?
Exactly.
We're going to talk a lot about money because we are, in fact, the Abundant InvestHer. But you can't just talk about money as a single silo without thinking about what does it do in the realm of your whole life.
Right. And also that abundance goes well beyond just money, right? Mm-hmm. So if we want to feel abundant, it's looking beyond the money and it's looking to all the abundance that's around us all the time and starting to create a belief system that we're worthy of abundance, that it's available to us, that it's easy. And by changing our mindset to be able to access it anytime, even when the bank account may not be registering what we want it to be, we can access those feelings and then in turn set ourselves up to really build wealth in all the ways.
That's right. Because really all wealth is abundance expressed.
Yes.
So we have we have the availability to tap into abundance any way we want.
Absolutely.
And wealth is just one way to express abundance. So I think that it's like you just said, life is meant to be enjoyed, and wealth will help you with that. So why not take advantage of that and put systems and plans and processes in place that you can obtain as much wealth as your heart desires and as your imagination can dream.
Right. And that's what we want for you. That's why we're here. We want you to feel abundant. We want to give you the mindset and the tools to create as much abundance as you desire in your life.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And so with that, we want to just dive right into this first episode where we're going to talk about both of those things and what does it mean to be abundant, and how this is a little bit different from what you might have believed in the past, right? That's right. It's a little different from the status quo. And we're going to dive in and really set this up and the conversation up by talking about what is the status quo and what's different about our approach. What's different about living the rich life.
That's right. That's right. And so if you think about the Abundant InvestHer, we're going to talk about this mindset. We're going to talk about some specific tools in regards to, say, real estate and life insurance and other kind of products. But before we do that, I think we really have to establish that there is a status quo out there that we all just sort of fall into without challenging it sometimes. And we want to start in this episode explaining what the status quo is, what people, how people kind of make decisions and why it's worthwhile challenging that status quo.
Absolutely.
So I'll start with one example. The 401k. You get out of college, you go to work, you set up your 401k and you think, okay, that's great. That's my retirement plan. And many, many people go to work in their 9-to-5 job for their entire career and create this giant bucket of tax deferred savings, which in some cases is really great. But in other cases, you may have overfunded that. Because what you've done is create this big bucket of tax deferred assets that you're going to have to pay Uncle Sam on. And you've created a bucket that you can't tap into until you're 59 and a half. That's right. A long time to be sitting on what's your biggest investment in most cases without tapping into it.
With essentially no access without major penalties, right? It's like putting it into a block box, letting it grow, which is great. The growth part is awesome. That you can't touch it though can be problematic for people. And it is very common, more common, I think, than we know, that people will tap into it. And if only they had known about a greater suite of financial options, they might have been able to do things differently without the penalties. And so I think that's a really great example, Beth, of just going with the flow, right? Like
Right.
we tend to follow the current that's in front of us that most people are on. We learn about it through our caretakers when we're young. We learn from our work when we get into the workforce. And there's really no handbook to how to be an adult
Yeah, right.
and how to manage your finances
Mhm.
and how to prepare for your future. And so we say, oh, well, the 401k is for retirement savings. The 529 is for college savings, right? We have these very broad assumptions around what the best way to do things are. And we're not saying that any of those things are wrong. We're just saying that there are other options out there. And what I always think of when I think of what we're doing, there's a really popular book, and I'm guessing most of our listeners have heard of it. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And it's a classic. I know it's for sure a bestseller, and it's been around for decades. So many people know that book, and the premise of that book is to go against the status quo and to think about investing and your financial life a bit differently than is the status quo. I know so many people that have that book. I know a lot of people that have read that book, and I know fewer people that consider that book their financial Bible or one of the main resources to determine the way that they live their life.
I think I just want to jump in there. I think part of that is that they don't know, they're afraid to take the leap. So they read the book, they say, oh, this is so interesting, I really would love to do that. But then life gets in the way and they get busy and they get afraid. And we're here to say, we can help you get rid of that fear, to get rid of that mindset, and to take the action that you need to take in a very smart and purposeful way to get down that path. So we're here to help you go from the concept of a book to the reality of living your life the way you want to really design it.
Because taking that type of leap on your own, I can attest, because I've done this with coaches. It's very challenging. I don't think I would have made the leaps that I've made in this realm, and I think you would probably say the same, without the support of other people who've been there before, who understand that there's a lot of fear in it. It's just our conditioning that we've been brought up to believe something different. So when we can work with someone who can support us in like holding our hand through the process, guiding us, it can be super supportive. And that's so much of why we're here. You and I are naturally coaches, and when we learned about other ways to do things through our own experience, we felt like we have to teach more people and support more people to do this.
That's right. You think about, you in general, people have their two biggest assets are their primary residence and their retirement savings account, whether it's a 401k, a 403b, whatever. So we've talked about sort of the 401k, but let's talk about a little bit around the status quo around real estate. A lot of times people buy real estate, they maybe trade up once or twice in their life, and they never really tap into the equity in their homes. And we're at a point in our country where we've had tremendous growth in real estate as an asset class. And we're coming to you from New England, but I know this to be true across the country, is that people have seen some tremendous growth in that asset. And I think the status quo is, okay, I'm going to live in this house until my kids grow and are out of the home. And then when I get to that big stage of my life of being like an empty nester, then I'll think about selling my house so I can then tap into that equity. And we think there's other ways that you can do that. That your rich life means your rich life now, not when you're, at some age way down the path.
Agree, 100%. And I think that we want to teach you to tap into things that are available now so that you can experience it in the very near future, and then also set you up for success in the long term as well. So we want to show you how to tap into that equity, because the model of the rich life is looking at the assets that you already have and looking, how can I have more assets and spend money on assets so that they are appreciating, maybe even cash flowing, and you can use that to enjoy life, buy more assets, do really whatever you want, and we will support you in creating the dream, right? We'll help you create that vision so that you get clarity on what you want. It's so important in all of our work to know what is it that I really want. And I think so many of us don't stop in our really busy lives and say, am I satisfied? Or we just go through life with this dull pain that it's not quite fulfilling and it's not quite abundant. And we want you to know that life is meant to feel good. You're not supposed to feel that dull pain all the time. You're supposed to enjoy it. And so that too is so much of what's behind the Abundant Investor, and the work that we do is helping you from a mindset and a belief perspective. We want you to spend time around other people in our world who are already feeling that we're already feeling that, and bring you into that rich life mindset, right?
That's right. And we'll have episodes where we'll dive into how you've personally, for example, been able to tap into the equity of your home and have Airbnbs and income and stuff like that. So in another episode, we'll dive into that. We'll dive into the tools that Christine and I are using in our financial lives to create longevity, generational wealth, all kinds of really great ways to manage our money. But today we really want to start at the beginning, and that's the mindset and the putting your mind in a place that allows you to dream big. And I think that's where that's why we want to really drill down on that today, because if you believe that you have, the ability to tap into abundance, then you can do it. The world wants you to do that. We're here to enjoy life.
Exactly.
And so I think it's really, it's simply put, I think if you have a vision, you believe in that vision, it will come true to the extent that you believe in it.
Exactly.
And so it helps to have these conversations about, what is that vision?
Right.
What are my dreams?
Right. What is it that I want? And to have tools, worksheets, financial tools, the advice on how to do things a bit differently. I think that we are great examples of that. I think we're, the more that we believe that, the more of these people that walk into our lives, and we're just seeing that there are so many possibilities. So, and that's what's happening in our world too, right? Like, there are more people starting businesses than ever before. Investing in real estate is more of a popular thing than it used to be, especially with the rise of short-term rentals, Airbnbs. And there are alternative ways to do finance, right? And so whether you have a financial advisor right now, whether you are doing things on your own, maybe you have some support from someone that you know that's in finance, we feel like it's really important, especially for women, to have the financial foundation to set themselves up for success. We want you to be empowered through knowledge and have access to tools and ways of thinking and doing that are less common. And I really do believe, I say they're less common, but I believe that with the rise of information, we've seen this, more and more people are doing things like tapping into their equity, like infinite banking, like, like using some alternative products that maybe their financial advisor is not telling them to use if they have one. And I will say that mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset, is very aligned with the work that we do.
That's right.
We have a lot of people that are entrepreneurs in our world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the reason why we love working with entrepreneurs so much is that they've already decided to go against the status quo.
Yeah.
They've said, there's something in me that I believe in that's bigger than what I can see today. And I don't have the evidence of someone marching down this path ahead of me, but I have the belief and the vision that I can do it. And that's what we're all about. And so if you don't have that today, we can help you get there. You just need that little glimmer of desire to say, I want more for myself, and we'll help you down that path. 100%.
Absolutely. So if you're thinking like, yes, this sounds interesting, I want to get more clairvoyance, I want to have more of a vision for my life, and I want a rich life. Like I want more. And by the way, especially to the women out there, it's okay and safe to want more. In fact, you should. If you feel that inkling, like, please follow it and feel safe and know that you're not selfish. Not selfish in the traditional way. I think we need to be more selfish in terms of like putting ourselves and our desires out there into the world. They're a good thing because when we women are nourished and our cups are full, we can provide so much more. I mean, come on, like we can be writing the checks to charities. We can be filling up our families. There's so much that we can do with that fullness and that abundance. You know, if that's something that you desire more, we will give you the tools to get started. And today we want to dive into a few of the things that will get you started in terms of thinking about, like, what does my rich life look like?
Right,
what do I want it to be?
Yeah. Like, you know, just to follow up what you're saying, we want to put more wealth into the hands of more women and a few good men. Like we want, you know, in many cases, we want this to be a partnership if you're in a partnership. But we want to empower women to become really educated about their finances, because with that becomes confidence, and that's good for everybody in your family to have, you know, both parties really understand where are our finances, what decisions have we made. It kind of forces that conversation that sometimes can be hard to have. Couples don't love to talk about money. Just in general, people don't like to talk about money. And we think that doesn't have to be that way.
No, we want to talk about money.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing. It will help all of us. You know, you think about women being paid at a rate at 85% of what men are.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. How much money are you making in your job? If you're in a job right now and you're a woman, talk to your colleagues about how much they're getting paid. It's a great place to start because without information, we don't have power.
Yeah.
And so let's get the information out there and get the dialogue started.
And everything, not just your job, I would say, everything that you're doing, right? Like how I asked a friend the other day, how much did you invest in that landscaping and pool that you're putting in? I didn't think twice not to say that. I was genuinely curious because at some point I might want to do the same thing, and I want to know. It's not because I want to stick my nose in anyone's business, and I genuinely believe 99% of the time people are asking a question like that, it's not for that reason. So I think we get to be more honest and open about all of the things around money. And that's how we can, like, we also believe, Beth, this was your, you know, you always tell the Shailene Flanagan story, that she was a Boston Marathon runner. She's a big marathon runner. And her mantra is really like that women need to work together to lift each other up.
That's right.
And we can't do that unless we're open with each other.
That's right. We call it the Shailene Flanagan effect, where she was an elite runner. I'll just tell the story really quickly. She was an elite runner. And male elite runners train together, which makes a lot of sense, right? They would push each other on these long training runs and train together. And when she really started training hard, she didn't have a female group, so she ran with all the men. And over time, she decided to start her own elite training group with women. And sure enough, they started as a group getting better and better. And all of them started winning these big races. And she ended up winning a major marathon herself. And it's just really incredible that when we come together and lift each other up, all boats rise and rising tide. Yep. So
I love that so much. It so encapsulates like what we are, who we are. We're both former teammates, athletes, and from college, and it's so much of our core and what we believe in.
Right, 100%. So I think there's a few things that people could start to do like today. Let's give them a couple tips on things that you could start to do today to get into this mindset of abundance. And I'm going to speak first because I hired Christine as my coach, and one of the most powerful things you had me do, Christine, is get a journal and write down 5 things every morning that I was grateful for. And it could be as, you know, big and majestic and beautiful as my family, or as simple as a nice hot cup of coffee with my dog by my side.
Love it.
You know, so every morning I start, and I have done it religiously now for a couple of years, of the 5 things I'm grateful for. It just is a great way to start your day. And 5 I am statements. And these I am statements are things that I want to be, I want to have, it's your dream big kind of bucket.
Mhm.
And they can be, again, as big as, I want to own a gorgeous house on the water, to I want to travel to the Cape for a week. Whatever they are. You want to be, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I want to be in control. There's a lot of and so you're not saying, I'm sorry, let me repeat that. Let me correct that. You're not saying I want to be, you're saying I am.
I'm saying I am.
So you're writing 5 statements as if you already have the things or are the person. I don't know, maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, Christine.
Well, what that does, I love the I am instead of what I want, because what the I am does is it starts to wire your brain into believing that that's already true. And that is how we make the leap to that next level where it does come true. Our brains want to keep us safe. And so there's a lot of mechanisms within it to keep us right where we are, because right where we are feels okay. So as crazy as it sounds, a lot of times when we're leveling up, what our body and brain are doing is trying to keep us safe and say, no, you're good where you are. You are literally rewiring your brain when you do this. You're literally supporting the rewiring of the circuits to create a new identity, which now, right, like in the past, it might be, I want to, but right now I'm living in this house in suburbia, to maybe I am living in a coastal beach house right on the water. And so your body and your brain start to get comfortable with that new belief, and it makes it possible faster for you to get there. And it truly works.
It's an amazing way to manifest what you want. It helps you get clear on what I am, what you want to be, what you are, and it just makes the manifestation just that much faster. Right. So it's a great exercise. So go out and buy a journal.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a simple. It can take you as little as 10 minutes. Some days, what I'll do is I'll write my 5 gratitude statements, and then I'll meditate, and it will really give me some clarity on my I am statements. And you'll see over time becomes really clear about what your vision is for yourself and your dreams. And it can be it's a terrific way to start your day.
I love that. And I love that you touched on meditating, because that's one of our other recommendations, is to get really clear. So I have a lot of people when I recommend that, say to me, oh, I can't sit still, I've never meditated. So you can meditate, or you can do something meditative. And that's a great way to get started, is to find the mindful moments. We have a lot of tactics. In fact, I think at some point we share with people all of those tactics for being more mindful, to be able to tune in, right? Like and we'll dive deeper into this in future episodes. There are things you can do just to be present and have a clear mind. When our mind is running around, it's really hard to hear and know what we want. So we also recommend that. And we want you to dream. We want you to sit down. If you have a partner, if you have someone you do life with, sit down with them and encourage them to dream with you. What is it that you both want together? Because you're a team, and it's important that you're aligned with each other and you know each other's desires and needs, and important that you're together building this dream together. Because when we're part of a team, we're just like the Shailene Flanagan effect. Like when we're with others who are supporting us, things are going to move faster.
And it feels good to say your dreams. Sometimes people keep these things in their mind for a long, long time. I remember listening years ago to, it was actually a VHS tape of Luke Holtz. And Luke Holtz was a big fan of dreaming big. And he always had a list of 100 dreams, And so I remember years ago, I have the book right over here. I wrote down 100 dreams. And that's another really fun thing to do.
It's fun. Yeah. It's so fun. It's so fun. I love that. And I just moved, and I found I found my goals from last year. I think I had written down the goals for the first half of this year. I like to do them in 6-month increments, and I couldn't believe how many of them have already come true.
Oh, that's great.
So it's really fun to do, and it's really fun to go look back at them. And if you want evidence, because we're so scientific and we like that, we can see the evidence right there. So that's great too.
It changes your frequency. I just want to
It
add
does.
that one thing.
Yes.
Like if you think about the frequency, there is a lot of science to this, because
Mhm.
now you're vibrating at just such a higher level,
Yeah.
and making yourself available and open to accept things.
Yes.
And I think that's so important. It was
So
a really good
important.
piece of advice you gave me when we were coaching together,
Mhm.
is to be open to
Mhm.
the possibility of what can come to you. And by doing all of these things, you open your mind
Yeah.
to the possibility of what is in store for you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I often call it willingness to receive. So
Mhm.
it's funny that we don't really recognize this. A lot of us feel like we have to work hard for everything, and we can't just sit back and open our receptors and catch the frequency of our
Mhm.
desires. So
That's right.
yeah, that's
It's
really
hard
good.
for us type A people to do that.
Yes, it is. And it's possible. You
It's
and I are
possible,
examples.
Exactly.
that
It
that
feels
it's
good when
possible.
you do that. It really does.
It's
So,
fabulous.
what else can people start to do today?
So take note of who you're spending your time with. Are you around people that are constantly seeing lack? Because we didn't really get into this, but there's really the two extremes of mindset are mindset of lack, where like things are really hard to come by. There's a shortage. It equals competition for a lot of people, right?
Kind of like the status quo. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
it
that's
is very
sad,
status
but
quo.
it's where a lot of people live.
Yeah,
They live in that realm of
scarcity.
If
you turn the news on every day, it's
Mhm.
hard not to, because the message that we're fed by the media constantly is one of scarcity, fear, and lack.
That's right.
So you do have to do things differently. I haven't watched, you have to tune the news out. You've got to be very selective about the channels that you're willing to receive.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, who are you spending your time with? If that person that you run into all the time is always complaining to you, find a way to minimize your time so that you have more energy for people that are excited about things, that feel abundant, that see the possibilities and see your dreams and help believe in you, because those people are going to bolster you and they're going to show you what's possible.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of like spending time around people who they feel abundant, right? Like, let them show you it's possible. And like, you're going to learn from them how it's done. So you want to spend more time around people. And if you don't have these people, if you can't, sometimes people will say, oh, everyone in my circle tends to be the status quo. These people are available. Mm-hmm. We're here right now on a podcast, and we're full of abundance. We're full of that abundance mindset. There are other people online. It's what you take in. It's what you consume. So
exactly.
Be selective about that. And then I think working with a coach is like, that's the next step, right? Mm-hmm. It's working with coaches who will help you to realize what's possible. They'll be there reminding you that you're possible and you're capable of whatever it is you want, because I fully believe that. I think you do too.
100%. Yep.
And
you get to choose. I'd say another thing you could do with that is, there's some part of your life today that's full of abundance. Whether it's your wealth or your friendships or the place that you live, when you walk outside your door, nature, anybody can find some part of their life that's abundant.
Agreed.
Start with that. Get the energy from that, and then move into relationships maybe, or your whatever, and and then you can get to abundance and wealth. If you don't feel that there, find where you do feel abundant, and then that will connect over to wealth. And that's why we're starting this topic today around having a rich life, because it's not just about the one pillar of wealth and money. It's about your whole life, and a positive change in one area of your life can affect all of the other areas.
Exactly. Sure. I love that advice so much, because everyone feels it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So where can people find us, Christine?
Well, we have a website, the Abundant InvestHer with an H.com. And we're also on social media. You want to tell everyone where?
We're on Instagram, the same thing, at the Abundant InvestHer. We're on TikTok, and we're on Facebook. And if you come to our website, right on the front page, you can sign up for a newsletter. Mm-hmm. And then in all of our social media channels, we have the opportunity to set up complimentary 15-minute consultation with us. And you'll see a lot of information on our social media channels around tactical advice as it relates to finances, more on this topic around mindset. And we'd love to spend 15 minutes with you, understanding your situation, hearing about what your goals are, and deciding if it makes sense for us to start a journey together, working together with in whatever way that manifests. Yeah. Absolutely.
Love it.
All right. Well, we look forward to this podcast. You can expect to hear from us weekly, and please be sure to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, everyone. Talk soon.